In 2026 and beyond, we are going to stop the denigration of two-year colleges or community colleges. Let's get into it. My name is Evelyn. Welcome back to Class with Prof. Eve, my channel, or maybe you've been here before. Thanks for coming by again. I am a professor at a two-year college, which I've been at for the last 16 years. I've been teaching at the college level 2 and 4 year for about 20 years now. So I'm very familiar with two-year colleges in particular, and also four-year colleges. I went to a four-year college for my bachelor's degree and my master's degree, and I've taught at a four-year college or university. I guess four-year schools are called universities typically. And so I've attended as a student, I've taught at those schools as well. I have always been bothered by what I perceive to be a denigration of two-year colleges. Even the way that people say community college as if it's less than, a four-year college or university, or that it's like something for the community. People just always say it with a lot of stigma behind the tone, in my opinion. And I just think that that part alone is crazy. To me, when I think about community college, you know, it's like, whoa, that sounds pretty amazing to me. You mean a college that the whole community can go to? I mean, that sounds great. And so it's really amazing that people are like turned off and like, all snobbish about a college being a community college. So I think that's weird. And the reason that these were the first colleges to exist in the country, they were free in many parts of the country, if not all parts of the country in their origin. They were free colleges. And so that is where the name comes from, right? Community college, because they've always historically been colleges that people can go to, general people, everyday people have the ability to attend. And even now, lots of social changes, lots of history, since the existence of, the first community colleges in the United States. Even now, they still provide more access for low income students, for immigrant students, for students of color than four-year universities. That's a fact, and it's always been the case. So that is where the community part comes in, and that is a great legacy, providing access for people that typically wouldn't have access to college. I'm trying to find what's wrong with that. Oh, it's the prestige factor, right? And so we associate four-year universities with the PhDs, right? The professors that have the doctoral degrees. They maybe have generally do have bigger campuses, many more facilities, and all these sorts of things. That's a fact because the funding is different, right? Size and everything quite different between two and four-year schools. But there are numerous professors at two-year colleges that also have PhDs. There's many professors that have left those four-year universities that really put a lot of weight on research, right? Where professors typically do far more research than they actually teach. They might teach a class or two or three at most universities, but most of that time is spent doing research, publishing articles, writing books, and things like that. Whereas at the two-year college, we are teaching. My minimum teaching load is 5 classes, and I typically teach 6 classes. I made a video about this the other day. It's on the channel, where I talk about how it took me 16 years of teaching to even make $100,000 a year, while teaching 6 classes every semester. That is just, one thing that really bothers me is, this whole critique or sort of turning nose down at the two-year college because it provides access to everyone, right, or to most people. And so it's really a very snobbish, elitist stance and perspective. Another thing that I want to address is this idea that at a two-year college or a community college or a junior college, but it should never be called a junior college. Two-year colleges are not junior colleges. Anyway, another thing that bothers me is this assumption that the education is not as rigorous, or not as the teachers aren't as quality as you would find at a four-year university. Not true. I don't know how many people can tell you. I'm sure there's YouTube videos about this. How many people could tell you about how awful some of the professors are at four-year universities? I have my own stories. Bad teachers and bad professors are everywhere at every school, unfortunately. It is not just the two-year college. And frankly, for all of the years that I've been teaching at the two-year college level, and I've taught at, I think, 3 or 4 different two-year colleges, I have met, I have met and been engaged with the smartest, the most caring, driven, resourceful professors that I'd ever encountered at those schools. They care a lot about what they're doing. They care a lot about their students. They're thinking about aspects of their students' lives that, a lot of four-year university professors wouldn't bother with, don't have the time to think about that when they have a class of 300 students or 500 students. And so the educational quality is going to vary anywhere that you go. It is absolutely not true that you can't get a great education at a two-year college. And the last thing that I want to say in this video is that even when we look at research, there's a lot of essays that you can find on Higher Ed, which is a college education journal, or it's an online publication as well. But I'm sure there's many other sources that have written about this also. But there's a really important piece of research for years now that has shown that students who start at two-year colleges and transfer to four-year universities actually do better academically than students who started at four-year universities. Why is that? Again, I'm going to reference back to the video that I posted a few days ago. It's on the channel where I talk about my experience flunking out of college my sophomore year. Yeah. And one of the things I say in that video is that it probably would have been good for me to start at a two-year college instead of jumping right into a university, having, coming from a family that where no one had gone to college and graduated college. I didn't know what I was doing. It was just the thing to do. And so I did it. Had no idea what to expect, didn't know how to prepare, didn't know how to study and establish a routine, had no discipline, but I just jumped into the four-year university. I would have probably done a lot better if I would have started at a two-year college and then transitioned to a four-year university. And the data does show that students typically do better when they take that approach. So I hope that this video was informative and that it will give you some information that you can use to challenge this denigration of two-year college and two-year college students and faculty that is completely unfounded, that is based in elitism and misinformation. Let's debunk that and get rid of that. We want to have an educational system that is open to everyone. We want education to be accessible to everyone. That is the ideal. That's actually the democratic principle in which this whole thing, was started in this country. It's supposed to be a democratic right, but that's all complicated by profit and capitalism. That's another video. Thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Peace.